What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the chronically charismatic Dr. Disaster. And it would seem that Disney has gotten what they want yet again, giving their money to movie projects made by people who openly hate massive chunks of their customers.
There you go.
Thank you, sir.
There you go.
Thank you, sir.
There you go. There you go.
The results of this are as predictable as the sunrise because people have had it with this shit. The movie that they made with Snow White is more interested in pushing a narrative than it is telling a story. Lead actress Rachel Zegler famously came out and bashed the original cherished cartoon for not being feminist enough for her liking, and that was all that normal people needed to see to realize that this movie was not made for us. It was made for they, them. In fact, the movie is of such piss-poor quality and disrespects the source material so badly that even the shill journalists can't pretend to like it, as you can see here with the Rotten Tomatoes score of the movie. And with all of this in mind, it is unsurprising to report that the first night of release for the movie was much lower than the likes of The Marvels, which had a similar budget to this film, and of course, that movie bombed spectacularly.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
Here you go.
No.
Will somebody get this big walking carpet out of my way?
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video to fend off the algorithm monster, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and also, don't forget to support the channel by becoming a member. There are multiple exclusive projects that you won't want to miss out on that will be available to members only, including audiobook of novels that I've written. There will be more information soon, but it occurs to me that we can't just point out the things that we don't like in our culture, we have to push things that we do like. So, if you're interested in supporting that sort of thing, consider becoming a member of the channel. Anyhow, let's look at this Snow White situation, which isn't looking particularly promising for Disney. I'm not sure how many times we have to tell them that this ain't it, that you idiots have driven a massive chunk of your customers away by embracing progressive shitlib nonsense, but as usual, it appears that the answer is at least one more time that we will have to tell them. The box office numbers are in for the overnight sneak peeks for Snow White, and it is tracking behind the likes of The Marvels, which was a horrific failure, as I'm sure that most of you remember. But let's read about the numbers in this article from Deadline, which is trying to spin things to sound as though it is favorable for Disney, because of course they are. That is their literal function these days. It used to be that journalism was viewed as a way for the people to speak truth to power. Now that they are bought and paid for, the profession has become a means of speaking power to truth. But the article says, Disney's Snow White, which has been dragged through the tabloids like she was Leona Helmsley, is seeing Thursday previews tonight of $3.5 million per our sources. Note, these numbers don't come from Disney. Showtimes began at 2 p.m. Where does this put the feature take of Disney's original princess? At that level, the Mark Webb directed musical is above the $2.3 million previews of 2019's Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, as well as Dumbo's $2.6 million Thursday night, both Disney feature adaptations of vault tunes. It's also not that far from DreamWorks Animation's Kung Fu Panda 4 last year, which did $3.8 million in Thursday previews for a $19.4 million Friday. So, they're invoking a few movies that the movie is beating, but they're failing to provide the most important context, which is budget. Snow White did nearly as well as Kung Fu Panda 4, but that movie had a budget of $85 million. Snow White is doing a bit better than Maleficent and Dumbo, which had budgets of roughly $180 and $170 million respectively. But what they're leaving out, quite conveniently, is the fact that Snow White is sitting at a $270 million budget, as you can see from this headline here. This means that the movie needs to make at least $540 million at the box office globally in order to make back its money and break even, since of course theaters take something in the vicinity of half the ticket price to show the movie at their locations and to pay their staff. But what's funny is that right in this next paragraph here, in this Deadline article that we've been reading from, you can see exactly the attitude that has been causing all the problems for Disney. You can see precisely why people are turning away from this bullshit, because they clearly, openly despise anyone who doesn't buy into the shit that they're trying to peddle into our culture. It reads here, the success of this $270 million production boils down to whether families with daughters go on Saturday and Sunday. Also, will moviegoers in red states clutch their pearls? Well, I don't know why these maniacs still need to hear this, but just as a heads up, the so-called red states, in other words, the people who would have voted against liberals in the last election, outnumber the blue states by a fair amount, and the guy that these people would have obviously voted against in the presidential election, Donald Trump, won the majority popular vote by a multi-million tally. Not to get all political here or anything like that, but these are the glaring facts. They may not like it, but when they denigrate people by saying that we're clutching our pearls for not wanting to go to this movie, and when they conflate that with a particular political side, well, it just makes the whole decision to play politics in the first place seem pretty asinine, especially when you factor in that this is obviously the majority position, because a massive chunk of the populace are either firmly on that side or at least are okay with it enough to vote for it. And let me just say that all the normal people who are uninterested in what they're trying to do with Snow White, let me just say this. The way that they could have gotten us interested in seeing this movie would have been by making a faithful recreation of the original, keeping all the weird progressive shit out of it, not listening to Peter Dinklage when he pisses and moans about small people being used to portray dwarves, and then casting someone who actually looks like Snow White. All of that is not that hard to do at all, but instead we have a movie which I would never take my daughter to. I would never expose her to this Disney nonsense. My youngest is 7 years old, and she is the prime target for a film like this. My wife and I are literally the people that Disney needs to convince to go see this movie, but they just spat in our faces instead, so there is no chance that we would ever go to it. In any event, though, I'm gonna leave it there. Drop your mockery of Rachel Zegler, the walking carpet, into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.